You hear it before you see it, a faint scraping sound echoing through the cell block at 2 a.m., and your blood turns to ice. But to understand how you ended up standing in this cold concrete corridor, we need to go back to the beginning. Back to the moment that changed everything, the moment you first set foot on the rock. This is Alcatraz, the most feared prison in America. And tonight, the impossible is about to happen. 3 inmates are going to vanish from their cells without a trace. You're the guard who's supposed to stop them. But right now, you don't know any of that yet, so let's rewind. It's 1960, and you're sitting in a cramped office in San Francisco, filling out a federal employment application. Your hands are shaking slightly because you know what you're applying for. You're 26 years old, fresh out of the Army, and you need a steady paycheck. The Bureau of Prisons is hiring correctional officers for Alcatraz Island. Your interviewer is a stone-faced man who tells you that Alcatraz is not like other prisons. He says the men housed there are the worst of the worst, the ones no other facility can handle. You nod and tell him you're not afraid. He looks at you like he's heard that 1,000 times before. 2 weeks later, a letter arrives at your apartment. You've been accepted. Your wife stares at you from across the kitchen table, the letter trembling in her hands. She asks you if you're sure about this. You tell her the pay is good, better than anything else you've been offered. You tell her that families live on the island too, that it's safe. On your first day, you board a small launch boat at Fort Mason. The fog is so thick you can barely see 20 feet ahead. As the boat cuts through the choppy water of San Francisco Bay, the island slowly materializes like a ghost. You feel your stomach drop. The concrete fortress rises from the rock like something out of a nightmare. Guard towers pierce the gray sky, and the air smells of salt and diesel. A senior officer named Henderson meets you at the dock. He has a firm handshake and eyes that look like they've seen too much. He walks you through the main gate, and you hear it clang shut behind you with a sound that reverberates in your chest. You realize that sound will define your life from now on. Henderson gives you the tour, the cell house, the mess hall, the recreation yard, the gun galleries. Every door is steel, every window is barred. He tells you the most important rule: never let an inmate get behind you. He says it with the kind of seriousness that makes you believe someone learned that lesson the hard way. You're issued your uniform: gray trousers, a dark jacket, a cap, and a heavy ring of keys. The keys feel like they weigh 10 pounds. That night, lying in your quarters on the island, you listen to the foghorns and the distant sound of the city across the water. You wonder what you've gotten yourself into. Your daily routine begins at 5:30 a.m. when the wake-up horn blasts through the cell house. You stand at the end of B block and watch as 260 men rise from their bunks in unison. The morning count is sacred. Every inmate must be visible, standing at their cell bars. You walk the tier, clicking your counter, making sure the numbers match. If the count is off by even one, the entire island goes into lockdown. It's happened before, and the tension that follows is suffocating. Breakfast is served at 6:45 in the mess hall. You stand along the wall with your back straight, watching 260 men eat in near silence. The food at Alcatraz is surprisingly good, better than most prisons. The warden believes that bad food causes riots, and he's probably right. You learn the faces quickly. You learn which inmates are quiet and which ones watch you with predator eyes. There's a man in cell B152 named Frank Morris. He's quiet, polite, and incredibly intelligent. Something about him makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Morris was transferred here from Atlanta after multiple escape attempts. You've read his file, IQ of 133, a genius by any standard. Then there are the Anglin brothers, John and Clarence. They're farm boys from Georgia with easy smiles and hard eyes. They arrived after escaping from other federal prisons. You also notice Alan West, a loudmouth who works in the maintenance detail. He seems to know every inch of the building's infrastructure. The days blur together in a rhythm of counts, meals, and patrols. You walk miles of concrete every shift, your footsteps echoing off the walls. The gun gallery is where you spend some of your shifts, a caged walkway above the cell block where you carry a rifle. From up there you can see everything, or at least you think you can. On weekends, your wife joins you in the small apartment on the island's residential area. She tends a tiny garden and tries to pretend you live somewhere normal. Your daughter plays with the other guards, children on the parade ground. Sometimes you forget you're living on a maximum security prison island. But the inmates never let you forget. You can feel their eyes on you constantly, measuring you, testing you. One afternoon, you catch Morris studying the ventilation grate at the back of his cell. He sees you watching and casually turns away, picking up a magazine. You make a note of it, but don't think much of it. Those old utility corridors behind the cells are a maze of pipes, but they lead nowhere useful. Or so you've been told. Months pass. You notice that Morris, the Anglins, and West have become close. They sit together at meals, they talk in the yard. Henderson tells you not to worry about it. Inmates form groups all the time, he says. It's when they stop talking to each other that you should be concerned. You start doing night shifts. The graveyard patrol from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. The cell house at night is a different world. The lights dim to a pale blue, and the only sounds are snoring, coughing, and the occasional murmur of a man talking in his sleep. Your flashlight beam is the only thing that moves. You walk the tiers every 30 minutes, shining your light into each cell, checking that every man is in his bunk. It's tedious, it's monotonous, and it's the most important job on the island. June 11th, 1962. You clock in for the night shift at 9:45 p.m. The air is unusually warm for Alcatraz, and a light fog is rolling in from the Golden Gate. You exchange a few words with the day shift officer, who tells you it's been a quiet day, nothing unusual. You nod and take your position. The lights out horn sounds at 9:30, and the cell house goes dark except for the dim blue security lights. You begin your first round. You walk past Morris's cell, B150. You shine your light through the bars and see a shape under the blanket, a tuft of dark hair on the pillow. Everything looks normal. You pass the Anglin brothers, cells, B152 and B154. Same thing. Sleeping forms, steady breathing. You click your counter and move on. Alan West's cell is on the same tier. He appears to be asleep, face toward the wall. You note nothing out of the ordinary. You complete your round and return to the officer's desk at the end of the cell block. You pour yourself a cup of coffee from your thermos and sit down. The clock on the wall reads 10:22 p.m. You pull out a crossword puzzle, a small rebellion against the crushing boredom of the night shift. At 11 p.m. you make your second round. The cell house is perfectly still. Every inmate appears to be asleep in their bunk. You pause near B150 and listen. There's a faint sound, rhythmic, almost like breathing, but not quite. You chalk it up to the pipes. This old building groans and hisses all night long. The steam pipes, the ventilation system, the settling concrete. Alcatraz has a voice of its own. You don't know it yet, but right now, at this very moment, 3 men are crawling through the utility corridor behind their cells. They've been digging for months. They use sharpened spoons and a makeshift drill fashioned from a stolen vacuum cleaner motor. Night after night, they carve through the crumbling concrete around their ventilation grates. The dummy heads on their pillows are masterpieces, sculpted from soap, toilet paper, and concrete dust, painted with flesh-tone pigment stolen from the art room. Real human hair, collected from the barbershop floor, is glued on top. You shine your light on those dummy heads and see exactly what they want you to see. Sleeping inmates. The deception is flawless. Behind the cells, Morris and the Anglin brothers climb a network of pipes up to the ceiling of the cell house. They've loosened a ventilation shaft cover on the roof over weeks of secret work. They carry with them a bundle of raincoats, over 50 stolen prison-issue coats, vulcanized together with contact cement into a makeshift inflatable raft. They also have wooden paddles and life vests made from the same material. You're sitting at your desk, sipping coffee, completely unaware that 3 men are crawling across the roof of the building you're sitting in. Your crossword puzzle is half finished. At midnight, you make your third round. You walk slower this time because your feet are aching. The dummy heads fool you again. They fool every officer on duty tonight. Outside, on the roof, Morris and the Anglins slide down a kitchen ventilation pipe to the ground below. They land in the shadows near the northeast shore. The guard tower on the northeast point has a clear sight line to their position, but the fog is thick tonight. It's the one variable they couldn't plan for, and it's working in their favor. They inflate the raft using a modified concertina, a musical accordion adapted into a bellows. The sound is swallowed by the wind and the foghorns. You hear a foghorn blast from somewhere across the bay. It's a lonely sound, and it makes you think of your wife sleeping in the apartment just a few hundred yards away. At approximately 1 a.m., 3 men push a makeshift raft into the frigid waters of San Francisco Bay. They paddle north toward Angel Island, fighting the current. You are making another round. You pass B-150 and shine your light inside. The dummy head stares back at you with its painted eyes. You see nothing wrong. The water temperature in the bay tonight is approximately 50 degrees Fahrenheit. The currents are treacherous, swirling between the Golden Gate and the open Pacific. Whether they made it across or drowned in the attempt, no one will ever know for certain. But right now, they're out there in the darkness, paddling for their lives. You finish your round and return to your desk. You log the time, 1:35 a.m., and note that all inmates are present and accounted for. You have no idea that you just wrote a lie in the official logbook. 3 cells in B block contain nothing but pillows and sculpted heads. The rest of your shift passes without incident. You drink more coffee, finish your crossword, and count the hours until sunrise. At 7:18 a.m., the morning count begins. Officer Bill Long walks the tier, banging on the bars, ordering inmates to stand. He reaches B-152, Clarence Anglin's cell. The figure in the bunk doesn't move. Long shouts again, then reaches through the bars and shakes the body. The head rolls off the pillow and hits the concrete floor with a hollow thud. Long stares at it for a full 3 seconds before his brain processes what he's seeing. Then he hits the alarm. The sound rips through the cell house like a scream. A shrill, relentless siren that means only one thing: escape. You're in your quarters, just off duty, about to fall asleep when the siren jolts you upright. Your heart hammers against your ribs. You pull on your uniform and sprint toward the cell house. Other guards are running too, their faces pale with shock. When you arrive, the cell block is in chaos. Inmates are shouting, banging on their bars, some laughing, some demanding to know what's happening. You push through to B block and see it. The dummy head on the floor of Anglin's cell, its painted face staring up at the ceiling. It looks almost alive. Morris's cell is empty too. So is John Anglin's. 3 men, gone, vanished from cells that were supposed to be escape-proof. The warden, Olin Blackwell, arrives within minutes. His face is a mask of controlled fury. He orders an immediate island-wide search. You join the search team, combing every inch of the island, the shoreline, the tide pools, the old Civil War tunnels, the industrial buildings. There's no sign of them. Then someone finds the ventilation grates. Behind the cells, the concrete around the grates has been meticulously chipped away, leaving holes just large enough for a man to crawl through. You crawl into the utility corridor yourself and see it, the escape route. Pipes used as a ladder. A makeshift workshop on top of the cell block, the loosened roof vent. You stand on the roof of the cell house and look out at the bay. The morning fog is burning off, revealing the San Francisco skyline, glittering and free. They could be anywhere. Alan West is still in his cell. He didn't make it through his ventilation grate in time. The concrete he'd repacked as camouflage had hardened, and he couldn't break through when it mattered. West talks freely. He tells investigators everything: the months of planning, the dummy heads, the raincoat raft, the intended route to Angel Island. He holds nothing back. The FBI is called in. Agents swarm the island within hours, dusting for prints, photographing the escape route, interviewing every guard and inmate. You're questioned for 3 hours. They ask you about your rounds, what you saw, what you heard. You tell them the truth. You saw sleeping men in every cell. The agent across the table stares at you with eyes that offer no sympathy. He asks you how 3 men could disappear under your watch. You don't have an answer. Outside, the Coast Guard searches the bay. Boats crisscross the water in grid patterns. Helicopters circle overhead. The search extends to Marin County, Angel Island, and the Pacific coastline. They find debris: a paddle, a wallet wrapped in plastic containing photographs of the Anglin family, fragments of the raincoat raft near Angel Island. But they find no bodies. The official FBI conclusion is that the 3 men drowned in the bay. The case is closed in 1979 with that determination, but you're not so sure. You replay that night in your mind over and over. The sounds you dismissed, the shapes in the bunks you didn't question. In the weeks that follow, the mood on Alcatraz changes. The warden is quietly transferred. Security protocols are overhauled. Trust between guards erodes. You start double-checking every cell during your rounds, shining your light directly on faces, watching for the rise and fall of breathing. You'll never be fooled by a dummy head again. But the damage is done. The escape has exposed Alcatraz's fatal flaw. It was never truly escape-proof, just escape-resistant. In March 1963, less than a year after the escape, the Attorney General announces that Alcatraz will be closed. The salt air has corroded the concrete, The costs are astronomical, and the escape has shattered the myth. You stand on the dock on the final day, watching the last inmates board the transfer boat. The cell house behind you is empty for the first time in 29 years. Your wife squeezes your hand as you board the boat with your daughter. The island shrinks behind you, and you realize you feel something unexpected. Relief. Years later, you'll see the theories. The Anglin brothers spotted in Brazil, a deathbed confession from a family friend, a photograph from 1975 that may or may not show them alive. The U.S. Marshal Service keeps the case open. They'll keep investigating until the fugitives would turn 100 years old. Someone, somewhere, believes they survived. You sit in your living room in 1979, watching a news report about the case. The reporter says the men almost certainly drowned. You stare at the screen and shake your head. Because you were there. You walked past those cells, and you saw what they built. The ingenuity, the patience, the sheer audacity of it all. Men like that don't drown easily. You'll carry this night with you for the rest of your life. The night you were outsmarted by 3 inmates with spoons, raincoats, and a plan. And sometimes, late at night, when the fog rolls in and the foghorns moan across the water, you still wonder, did they make it?